Have you ever held your heart like fragile glass, wondering if the pieces will ever fit together again? Tonight, as you lie awake with memories brushing against the edges of your mind, know that you are not alone in this quiet ache. Maybe you've walked through hallways of empty rooms, your own footsteps echoing the loneliness that lingers after promises are broken. Or perhaps you've whispered words you wished you could take back, watching them drift away like dandelion seeds on the wind. There's a familiar weight in your chest, a reminder that at one time you believed in someone or something so fiercely that you forgot how to believe in yourself. But what if I told you that each fragment of pain is actually the first glimmer of strength? What if these wounds, tender and raw, are not proof of your brokenness, but whispers of a larger story waiting to unfold? Tonight, we'll walk that path together through the haze of doubt, past the shadows of regret, toward the steady light of becoming whole. I know how it feels to confuse loyalty with self-sacrifice, or to mistake silence for safety. I've felt the tremor in my voice when I tried to say what truly hurt, only to swallow the words whole. You've been there too. So pause for a breath. Notice the rhythm of your own inhale and exhale, gentle and persistent. This is your breath, your anchor, reminding you that you exist in the present, not in the past. As you drift into these words, allow them to rest beside you like a friend offering a warm hand. If you're finding something here that stirs recognition in your soul, tap the heart below and join our circle, subscribe so we can continue this journey side by side, and give this video a like to let others find a space where they too can breathe. Lean into this moment. Let these words fall softly where they're needed most. You are not broken. You are becoming whole. You've carried that ache for so long that it's become a familiar companion, like a quiet melody you can't quite turn off. Maybe in the morning light, you see the ghost of yesterday's tears reflected in the mirror, and you wonder if you'll ever feel whole again. But listen closely. Even a cracked vase can hold water, can nourish new life. Those fractures are not flaws. They are where the light gets in. Think of the places you thought were your weakest, those moments when you couldn't speak up, when you doubted your worth, when you believed you were unlovable. Those fragments are the exact places where transformation begins. Remember the last time your heart clenched so tight you thought it might shatter? The words unspoken, the apologies left hanging in the air. It felt safer to retreat into silence. But silence, like empty rooms, echoes with what's left unsaid. What if you leaned into that echo instead of fleeing? What if you let your voice, trembling though it may be, carry the weight of your truth? In that trembling voice lies courage. In the trembling pause between breaths, there's a space for honesty to bloom. I want you to close your eyes now and feel the soft ground beneath you, imaginary or real, it doesn't matter. Feel the steady pulse in your veins, the way life persists even when you forget how. That pulse is not just biology, it's hope beating beneath your skin. Every cell in you is wired to heal, to find its way back to rhythm. When you were small, you fell. You scraped your knee and you cried. But eventually you stood, reached for comfort, and moved on. You didn't question whether you deserved healing. You simply accepted it. Can you offer yourself that same kindness now for wounds that are deeper but just as worthy of care? There's a story written in every scar you carry, chapters of longing and resilience, of loss and rediscovery. You might not see it yet, but someone else will look at you and trace those lines like constellations, finding their own path home in your courage. If you stay hidden, they'll miss the guidepost you could become. Healing is not a destination, but a gathering pieces of yourself that you scattered to survive, then weaving them back into a tapestry stronger and more radiant than before. No, the tapestry won't hide the seams, and that's exactly the point. So here's what I want you to do. When doubt whispers that you're beyond repair, answer it with your own question. What if this pain is preparing me for something greater? What if the chip in the glass is exactly where my light will shine brightest? Let your breath carry that question into every corner of your being. And if it feels too big, Break it into smaller thoughts, one breath at a time. You don't have to have all the answers today. You just have to be willing to keep asking. If you've felt that spark of recognition, if these words have found a place in your heart, let this moment be a promise to yourself. Promise to return here, to this breath, to this once fragile but now awakening strength. And if you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe now and click like so that this circle of healing can grow. Even just one person who needs to hear this might find their way back to themselves because of you. We're in this together. There's a moment when the heart learns to tiptoe across its own broken edges. You remember that first step so tentative, as if the ground might crumble beneath you. Maybe you felt that in a new relationship, when the wounds of the last one whispered you were too fragile to try again. Or when a friend asked how you were, and you laughed off the question because you didn't trust your own answer. That hesitation, that pause before you speak, is a gift. It's where your truth waits. Imagine your heart as a quiet forest at dawn. The trees stand bare, their limbs etched against pale sky, but beneath the surface, buds are swelling, ready to unfurl. You can't rush that opening. You can only give space and time. So tonight, extend that grace to yourself. When you hear your own breath catch, when emotions rise like tide, you don't have to hold them back. Let them wash over you, soft as rain, cleansing the debris of old fears. Perhaps you were the one who always gave more than you received. You learned to overgive in hopes that anyone would stay. You told yourself it was generosity, but it was hunger in disguise. You craved the warmth that only comes when someone sees you wholly, without judgment. And when that sight never came, you felt the emptiness hollowing you from the inside out. Here's what I want you to know. Your worth was never measured by what you could offer. It's intrinsic. Like the way the moon glows whether or not you look up at night. Your light is constant, even when you feel unseen. Breathe in that knowledge. Let it settle beneath your chest, a seed of quiet confidence taking root. With each exhale, imagine releasing the old story that said you're too much or not enough. Feel those narratives drift away, like leaves carried off by a gentle stream. They served a purpose once, protecting you from pain, but now they keep you from growth. Close your eyes and place a hand over your heart. Feel the pulse there, that steady reminder that you're alive. In that rhythm lives possibility. In that rhythm lives compassion. In that rhythm, you hear the echo of every person who has ever loved you, beginning with the one you may have forgotten to cherish, yourself. You may not have known how, but you've been sculpting your own rebirth with every tear you shed, every time you dared to hope again. I want you to picture a letter you'd write to the person you were 5 years ago. What would you say? Would you offer comfort, forgiveness, understanding? You can write that letter now, silently or in your mind. Tell that younger you it's okay to have stumbled, that it's okay to have been lost, that every step, even the wrong ones, led you to this moment of awakening. And then turn the page and write to the you of tomorrow. Promise resilience. Promise self-kindness. Promise a willingness to lean into joy, to let it fill the spaces you once thought needed to remain empty. You are becoming whole in the hands of your own compassion. Each act of gentle self-care, saying no without guilt, resting when you're weary, speaking truth even when it quivers, is another stitch in the tapestry of your healing. There will still be days when the old cracks ache, when doubt seeps in like mist through trees. And that's okay. Healing is not a straight line. It's a winding trail deep in the woods, with unexpected clearings and shadowed groves. You don't need a map, only the willingness to keep walking. If these words are landing where they're meant to, breathe with intention. Feel the expansion beneath your hand, the tender courage in your ribs. And if you find any of this resonating, let it guide you here again. Just a breath away, you'll find this circle waiting, a soft reminder that you are never truly alone in this work. If you haven't joined our community yet, subscribe now so that whenever you need a pause, a mirror, or a spark of hope, you'll find it right here. And if this moment moved you, share it gently with someone who needs to hear. They too are on the path to becoming whole. There's a secret ceremony in the quiet places of your soul, one you've been attending every day without even knowing it. It happens in the moments between your thoughts, in the interval where your mind pauses just long enough to feel something stir, a flicker of longing, a surge of grief, a whisper of hope. That's the altar of transformation, and it's been waiting for you. You don't need incense or robes or sacred chants. All you need is presence. Presence to notice when your chest tightens at the memory of a betrayal. Presence to feel the hot sting of tears before they fall. Presence to cradle that trembling awareness and let it speak. You might think you need to fix yourself before you can step into the light, but what if you didn't? What if the altar accepts you exactly as you are, wounded, weary, whole in your brokenness? Imagine laying every fearful thought and every ache at its base, like petals on a stone, and then lifting your face toward whatever light you have, moonlight, candlelight, the morning sun, and letting it warm you from the edges inward. You are here. You are present. And that small offering of yourself is a sovereign act of love. Sometimes you'll stumble in this sacred space. You'll think you've laid down an old grief, only to see it rise again as if you never touched it. That's not failure. It's the echo of a deep chord, resonating until it finds its note. Be patient. The more you return to that gentle altar, the more quickly you'll recognize the patterns of your own suffering, and the more swiftly you can cradle them in compassion instead of shame. Healing is not a one-time event. It's a daily devotion. Perhaps you remember a time you tried to share your burden with someone you trusted, only to feel the words land awkwardly, or worse, bounce back at you like stones. That echo of misunderstanding can convince you that vulnerability is too expensive. But I've seen how a single honest confession, delivered with the tremor in your voice still intact, can open another person's heart. Like two mirrors facing each other across a narrow corridor, their reflections stretch into infinity, your strength reflected back to you, multiplied by the courage you showed to speak. You may only intend to whisper, but someone will hear an anthem. So let's practice together. Place your hand on your heart and whisper the words your soul has been starving to say. I am afraid of being abandoned. Feel the tremor in your lips. Notice how the confession itself is a balm, because it's truth unguarded. Then, when that quiet settles, follow with, yet I am worthy of love. Sense how the second phrase drapes softness over the first, like a warm blanket enveloping a shaking body. In these paired truths, fear and worthiness, you become whole, because you are no longer split between what you feel and what you deserve. And when tomorrow brings its own trials because it will remember that ceremony at the altar, return to your breath, sit with what's real, speak your truth, even if it's just to yourself. Offer it up and watch how the weight lightens, how the flicker of something like peace finds a home in your chest. These small practices are the stitches in your becoming. They might feel mundane, closing your eyes, breathing, whispering affirmations, but they are portals to profound change. I want you to think of one gesture of self-kindness you can do right now. It could be as simple as pouring a glass of water and savoring each drop, or stretching your limbs until they feel soft again, or writing a single sentence in a journal. I am here, and I matter. Choose that gesture and commit to it for the next 3 days. Notice how your heart responds when you honor it with even the smallest nod of care. If this moment of reflection has reached you, let it whisper its promise into your life. Whisper into this community by subscribing so that whenever you need that reminder, you know exactly where to come. If this has touched something deep inside, share it with someone you trust. You may ignite their own ceremony of healing. We are threads in a vast tapestry, each of us weaving and reweaving the story of becoming whole. When one thread finds its strength, the entire cloth grows more resilient. And remember, the altar is always here. You only have to bow your head, breathe, and place your fears gently at your feet. There, in that humble offering, you find your light and discover that you have been whole all along. There's a quiet revolution that begins when you reclaim the names you once gave to your wounds. The wound of abandonment, what you called loneliness, when you name it, you see it. The wound of betrayal, what you called anger, when you name it, you free it. Naming is an act of kindness because it shines a gentle light on what was hiding in the shadows. So tonight, whisper these names to yourself: loneliness, anger, fear, shame. Let them settle on your tongue as though you're greeting an old friend. You don't have to fix them. You only have to witness them. When you witness, you honor. And when you honor, you heal. Imagine now that your heartbeat is a drum guiding you through a dense forest. With each thump, you take another step. That forest has thick underbrush, the habit of self-doubt, the roots of old patterns that trip you when you least expect it. But see how the trees thin as you move forward, how the shafts of moonlight begin to break through the canopy. That's the promise of trust. Trust in your own process, trust in your own timing, trust in your own capacity to find the clearings. You're never lost. You're on a path winding through growth. If you can slow your pace when the terrain feels rough, if you can pause to breathe through the prickles and knots, you'll discover that every obstacle is also a landmark, pointing you toward the next breakthrough. Let's talk about boundaries. Not as walls you have to build brick by brick, but as gentle fences you plant like flowers. A boundary is as simple as saying, "I need rest," or "My feelings matter," or "No, thank you," and watching how the world shifts to honor your yes and your no. It's surprising how a soft but steady no can clear space for your soul to breathe. You might worry that people will leave, but notice this: respect follows consistency. When you honor your own limits, others learn how to treasure you. You become someone whose edges are lovingly known, not someone who dissolves beneath the weight of everyone else's demands. There's a delicate art in listening to your inner voice. It speaks in the quiet moments, not in the chorus of shoulds and shouldn'ts. It's there when you feel a tug towards something you can't quite name, a hobby you once loved, a dream you quietly abandoned, a book gathering dust on your shelf. That tug is your soul beckoning you home. Follow it. Even if it's just for 10 minutes today, allow yourself to return to what makes your heart hum. Paint a stroke of color, dance for a moment, journal that single sentence that won't leave you alone. These small acts of creative reverence are the tendrils of life winding around your roots, nourishing the parts of you that have been hungry for meaning. You've heard the saying that it takes a village, but perhaps you've been shy to lean on yours. Vulnerability is the doorway to deep connection. When you share a sliver of your struggle with someone you trust, a friend, a mentor, a stranger in an online circle, you give them permission to come closer, and you give yourself the gift of being seen. You might choose your words carefully, or they might tumble out in a rush. That's okay. What matters is the offering. And if the first person can't hold your truth, try another. Keep seeking the tender ears and open hearts that will cradle your story without judgment. We're wired for connection. Each confident step towards sharing is a step away from isolation. Notice how all of this, naming your wounds, tending your boundaries, listening to your callings, sharing your story, are threads woven into the same tapestry. Each practice reinforces the others. When you honor your boundaries, you find the time to listen. When you listen, you discover what needs naming. When you name, you gather the courage to share. The tapestry grows more intricate, more beautiful, and mysteriously stronger where the threads cross. Before we pause here, take a moment to place your hand over your heart and feel the subtle warmth beneath your palm. That warmth is you, persistent, unyielding, luminous. Feel how it echoes your breath, how it resonates with every habit of care you've learned tonight. Every soft no, every brave yes, every hello to your shadow is a stroke of artistry in your life's masterpiece. If this circle of words has felt like a haven, If you've discovered one new practice you're willing to try, take a breath and claim it. Then, as you exhale, consider sharing this space with someone who needs it. Hit subscribe if you haven't already, and like this video so that we can widen our circle of healing. Together, we become keepers of each other's light, witnesses to each other's becoming. Thank you for being here, for showing up for yourself, for trusting that even the smallest act of kindness towards your own heart ripples outward in ways you'll one day see. Your journey has carried you through shadows that felt endless, but every step you've taken, a whispered apology, a trembling confession, a gentle boundary, has been a declaration of your own worth. Imagine for a moment that you're standing at the edge of a vast sea. Behind you lies every storm you've weathered, the tidal waves of heartbreak, the undertow of self-doubt, the relentless wind of fear. Those storms shaped you, carving hidden coves where your resilience gathered like pearls. Ahead of you, the water glitters under a rising sun, inviting you to wade in, to test the strength you never knew you had. As you step forward, your foot meets the water and ripples spread in widening circles. Each ripple is an echo of a choice you've made to honor your own truth, a choice to say no when your soul needed rest, a choice to speak up when silence felt safer, a choice to believe in yourself when every voice in your head said you'd fail. Those ripples reach every part of you, reminding you that your impact is not measured by grandeur, but by gentle persistence. There may still be days when the surface of the water looks dark and still, when the horizon seems unreachable. On those days, remember the breath in your lungs, the same breath that carried you through every moment of pain and every moment of triumph. Place both hands on your ribs and feel the expansion, the proof that life persists. Feel how each heartbeat is a promise. You are here, you are capable, you are becoming. Now, draw your mind's eye inward and envision a circle of people gathered around that sea's edge, friends you've known, friends you've yet to meet, perhaps even strangers whose eyes will light up when they hear your story. You might think you journey alone, but your courage writes invisible invitations across the world. Someone, somewhere, will read your words, will hear your tremor, will feel seen because you dared to stand and to speak. This community, woven from souls like yours, is a living tapestry of healing. Your choice to keep going expands it strand by strand. In that circle, imagine sharing a moment of triumph, the first time you set a boundary that felt impossible. You said no to a request that once would have crushed you under guilt, and then you watched a seed of self-respect take root. Feel the warmth of receiving respect in return, as if the world paused to honor your courage. That single act became a lantern, guiding you through darker passages and offering its light to others who still stumble. You might never know every life you touch, but know this: you matter. Allow yourself to feel pride, not as pride in being perfect, but as pride in showing up imperfect, vulnerable, courageous. Let that pride sit beside you and offer its quiet applause. If shame creeps in, watching that celebration from afar, name it. Speak to shame as you would to a wary friend. Thank you for keeping me safe, but now I choose compassion over fear. Notice how your voice softens as you speak, how the walls around shame begin to soften. Perhaps you wonder what comes next. The truth is, there's no final finish line, only ever-deepening rivers of becoming. Tomorrow, you might wake with fresh anxieties. That's natural. Your mind likes to predict storms, but you have learned the ceremony. You have your breath, your naming, your boundaries, your invitations to honest connection. You have the courage to step into the water again and again, and with each passage, you gather more of those hidden pearls: resilience, compassion, clarity, the unshakable knowledge that you are always worthy of healing. So here, on this shore that once felt too vast to cross, celebrate your journey. Honor every small victory, the tear you allowed, the silence you broke, the moment you chose yourself. Pause now to cradle that celebration in your chest. Feel how it hums beneath your heart, a steady affirmation of growth. And if you feel called, reach out and leave a comment below. Share one moment you're proud of, one step you've taken toward becoming whole. Your story might be the beacon someone else has been waiting for. If this circle of words has held you, if this moment has awakened something tender or fierce within you, join our growing community. Subscribe, click like, and share this video gently so that every soul who needs this message finds their way here. Each subscribe is a vow. We will keep walking this path together, in light and shadow, in storm and calm. Every like is a nod of allegiance to ourselves and to each other. Breathe deeply now and taste the salt of the sea air, the promise of a new dawn. Feel the water pull back, revealing the strength in your legs, the steadiness of your spine. Take that strength with you as you leave this shore. Walk forward knowing that wherever you go, you carry your whole self, not broken pieces, but a mosaic of courage, compassion, and hope. As you turn away from that glittering shore, you carry a new rhythm in your chest, a gentle insistence that says, I am here and I matter. That rhythm will guide you through ordinary moments, the hush before morning coffee, the quiet in a crowded room, the stillness of your mind as you drift into sleep. Each beat is an invitation to remember your worth, to meet yourself with curiosity instead of judgment. Perhaps there was a time you envied someone else's ease, someone who seemed to move through life without the baggage you haul. You watched them laugh freely, and you thought, if only I could be that unburdened. But here's the secret. Their ease grew from courage. They learned to unpack their own knots, to sit with discomfort until it softened, to let themselves grieve losses rather than shove them aside. Their laughter is not the absence of pain, it is the triumph over it. And yours can be too. Take a moment now to imagine your future self, standing a year from today. Notice how their shoulders rest without tension, how their gaze meets yours with warmth rather than shame. They have scars, of course, delicate lines that whisper stories of survival, but they do not define them. Instead, these marks serve as silent testaments to every time they chose healing over hiding. Feel the pride that blooms in your chest at the thought of becoming that person. Let it spread outward, warming your lungs, steadying your spine. Life will continue to challenge you. You will face unexpected rifts, perhaps an old wound that was thought buried, or a relationship that tests your new boundaries. In those moments, return to the ceremony you've learned. Close your eyes, breathe deeply, and name what's present. Anxiety, grief, anger, hope. Let that naming bring clarity. Then ask, what do I need right now? Listen without rushing for an answer. Let compassion rise before solutions. And when you do find what you need, whether it's rest, a conversation, a moment of stillness, honor that need as if you were tending a cherished garden. Water it with attention and kindness. Over time, you'll see buds of possibility unfurl where once there were only thorns of fear. You'll find yourself drawn to voices that echo your authenticity, to spaces that invite your full self rather than demand a mask. You might worry that this path feels solitary, but remember how every time you chose honesty, you extended an invisible hand to someone else. Your vulnerability becomes a pathway through the forest for others who are still lost. Think of a moment when someone's words, perhaps even these words, arrived, like a lifeline. You are that for another soul now. Each step you take forward widens the road. Each breath you claim invites another to breathe deeper. Let gratitude wash over you for the fierce journey you've traveled. Imagine gathering the lessons learned, your resilience, your wisdom, your compassion, and weaving them into a cloak you wear each day. That cloak is your armor and your declaration. I am present. I am healing. I am whole. It doesn't mean you're perfect. It means you're committed to the forever work of embracing all parts of yourself. Before we pause here, place your hand again over your heart and feel that new rhythm. Let it remind you that healing is an ongoing conversation between who you were, who you are, and who you are becoming. Notice how your breath moves in concert with that realization, how your spine feels a fraction taller, how your mind feels a bit quieter, a bit more at home. If this space has held you, if these words have met you where you are, promise to return when you need to be reminded of your light. And if you haven't yet subscribed now, and click like so our community can keep growing and shining together. Share this video with someone who needs a gentle reminder that they are not broken, they are simply on the path to becoming whole. Tonight, you've traced the arc of your own becoming with every confession whispered, every boundary drawn, every tender act of listening to your soul. Remember that this is not a single story you finish and close like a book. It's an ever unfolding journey, a river that swells and recedes, leaving behind new stones to steady your path. Wherever you find yourself tomorrow, whether braced against worry or buoyed by hope, carry with you these truths. You are not what happened to you. You are the courage that rises to meet every new moment. You are the light that glimmers through every crack. So take a final breath now and feel the fullness of your being expanding from your heart to the tips of your fingers. Know that every time you return here, you'll find this circle waiting ready to remind you of your worth, to mirror your strength, and to cradle your tender hope. If this space has touched you, if it has helped you see how you are becoming whole, please subscribe and like to keep this sanctuary growing, and share it so that another soul might find its way back to itself. Thank you for sharing your heart tonight. May you walk forward in kindness toward yourself and toward others, and may you always remember, you are not broken, you are becoming whole.